My name is Caleb McKay, and I've been developing a PS1-style horror game called Vanishing Point. Most people hear that and think of a potentially crappy itch.io game, but in my case, I'm looking to make a proper game. Vanishing Point is to be actually fun, actually scary, and be released on Steam. So far, I've made the player model and the movement controls. Now it's time to show you how I made the first area in my game. First of all, quite a few new people have come in from my last video where I explained my mysterious disappearance, so welcome. I appreciate you being here. But for those who haven't seen that video, all the development you're about to see happened last year. Now, let's talk about this area we're making. Our protagonist, Casey, receives a troubling text message from his brother Clark. He heads out in his old car to where his brother lives. However, on his way to Clark's town, his car breaks down and he's left stranded. Casey is forced to go the rest of the way on foot, on a street through a dark forest. And that's how the game starts. So obviously, the first area needs to be a dark forest road. I started by putting together this Trello board. As you can see, the first objective is to block out the area. For anyone unfamiliar, a blockout is the earliest stage of a video game level. Level designers will use basic shapes to design a level off of nothing but feel. Later on, the meshing team will come through and fill in those shapes with models. Of course, as an indie developer, both of those jobs go to me. Usually this process is pretty finicky, as you have to bring your models into the engine and line them up to the blockout to the best of your ability by hand. However, Godot Engine offers a brilliant feature that allows you to export your entire scene as a model. You can then bring this into your 3D modeling software and make the level directly over the blockout as if it were a reference photo. This level was of course very simple, just a straight shot to the exit. However, this process is always necessary as I needed to feel how wide and long the road should be. What's pretty funny is this was all towards the end of recovering from my wisdom teeth removal, so my face was noticeably puffy. Video on that coming soon. So on October 4th, I had finished with my first blockout. The next objective was to make a list of all of the models I would need so I knew what textures to take. This of course was a very swift part of the process. Taking textures for this game is actually pretty interesting. I travel out to a spot that has the materials I'm looking for, and then I use my camera to take pictures of them. I then compress those pictures down to the size of a PS1 texture. We actually went out to get textures quite a while ago, like a year ago, when we were moving to this new space because we had to be out of the house a lot.
Time to capture the stance. I was trying to say hold this at like neck height, and on you that means I'm like aiming directly at your nips.
Well, you're also
yeah.
This already got me quite a bit of usable stuff, but after recovering from my wisdom teeth removal, we went out to get what was on my list.
Double camera setup.
I was gonna say very ergonomic.
This was of course not all of the outings, it was just the ones I recorded. And it wasn't long after that the winter snow started coming.
So it's a good thing we got those pictures when we did, because now there's not really any leaves to take pictures of. And it's really cold.
So on November 9th, I finally brought everything to my computer and started modeling. This took exactly 1 month, but we'll just go through every step in quick succession. On a side note, making the models for this game is a bit underwhelming for me. This is because I'm used to working with photorealism in my 3D modeling, so I'm actually quite constrained here. So in case you were wondering, this game is not a reflection of my general skill level. But anyway, I started by importing the blockout into Blender. I set down a plane to be the forest floor, and I started building some fences. I wanted the road to be flanked by old rotted fences to prevent you from just walking off. So I applied one of my new textures, and I extended them out to the length that I wanted. I also applied the grass texture to the ground. Then I added a thin plane to act as the road and applied my texture. And yes, I did have to stand in the middle of the street to get this texture, so you better be grateful. I then applied a curve to the road and applied new fencing to it. My thought process was that it would allow the trees to hide the end of the road, and as you'll see in a bit, it worked like a charm. I then added my old car model from the very start of this project that I made as a graphical test back then. Now, a nice fellow on one of my old videos, Raul Sanger, hopefully I'm saying that right, wanted to see the process of making this car, so I will happily oblige. Alright, so here we are in Blender. It's a little late at night, can't be too loud. What I did was I started with a cube. I'm going to just extend that out a little bit. Oh, there's an ant on my leg. And we're going to apply a few cuts to it, so Control R and scroll up. I think, yeah, 3 we'll start with. We're going to select the front face right here and drag it down. Actually, the whole thing needs to be a little bit thinner. This middle part should be equivalent to the tallest part of the car. You, of course, should have your own reference photo up. You can put these into Blender. So we're going to drag this down, and then grab this edge down here and drag that down. And that's basically what you want. A lot of cars have a little bit extra right here, so you can extrude that. That's basically what I did. For the wheels, we're going to add a circle with only 6 vertices. Rotate that 90 degrees. We're going to scale it down to the size of the wheels. Again, I don't have a reference photo up. Following this process while managing the proportions to be that of what you want is going to make it look a lot better. Then extrude and merge all these at the center to get this nice point right here. Then we're going to extrude those out to the general size of a tire. And we're going to mash those in to the vehicle. Then we're going to duplicate that. Move it to the back as well. And apply a cut right here. Just delete one entire half of the model. And apply a mirror. Not that way, that way. And that's basically it. The texturing part is really the biggest thing. For that, you're probably going to want multiple photos of multiple different cars, because you're not really going to find a top, side, front, and back of the same car from the same year that you're trying to make. That's just not really out there. So what I did for my car is I took just multiple, like the top of a car is almost always going to be exactly the same as any other. You're going to want a top, side, front, and back regardless of if they're the same car or not. As long as they look similar, nobody's going to really notice. So for example, here's the texture for the car that I made. This top, the side should be the car that you want, and it's pretty easy to find side profiles of any given car. But the top was a completely different car. I believe this front was different too, and only the back was actually the same as the side profile. You can adjust the colors in post to make the paint jobs the same color. That's what I did here. That's why the taillight is green instead of red like it should be. You're also going to want to blur out or just wipe out any company logos. Regardless of how low resolution it is, those are going to be in the same. It's going to be recognizable based on the spot that they're in and the general shape. They can still get you for that, so it's not that difficult most of the time. Just, grab the grill and move it over, like duplicate that part of it. Just kind of like put a band-aid over it. Same thing with license plates. If your textures are high enough resolution for that to kind of matter. Mine were so low resolution that you can't really make out any numbers, but obviously you don't want to just put someone's license plate in your game. And that's how you make a PS1-style car. I hope that was what you were looking for. I then had to start making the trees, and I'd already made the model for them. This was by far the worst part of the process, and I'm still not sure if I like how they turned out. It would seem trying to place trees at random without unintentionally making a pattern is like trying to break out of the Matrix. The human brain just isn't wired to create without intentionality, so I had to settle on a pattern that just looked random from the ground. But as you can see, the curve in the road worked wonders. The cutoff of the level is completely hidden by the trees. We were almost done. What I had to do next was add a tree line sprite so you can just look out into the void from the right angle. I then added a textured dome to appear like the night sky. There was one last step, and that was to make the tunnel at the end of the road. I did that rather quickly, but I also made this transparent object to place inside. It'll create an illusion of lighting despite the lack of shading, allowing the tunnel to appear to fade into the distance, out of sight and into darkness. And with that, the modeling was finished. We have a dark forest road. Seems pretty quick when you just breeze through it like that, but that's just the illusion of social media for you. This was far from easy. But of course we were not done, we still had to put it in the game. So I did that real quick, replacing our test area with the forest road. To say it looks better would be an understatement. With this area, we finally have an idea of what the game may look like. Going back to our Trello board, there is but one last objective: applying collision. Now I want to talk about the collision a bit because it's pretty interesting. We put collision over actual in-world objects, but we also have an invisible wall preventing you from just walking back down the road where you came from. With those invisible walls, we only want the player to collide with them and not our camera. Luckily, Godot has something called collision layers. So basically, the player is on collision layer 1, and the camera is on layer 2. Most objects should be on both in order to collide with the character and the camera. However, if we want something to just collide with the player and not the camera, we just put that object only on the first collision layer. It's super simple. So after a couple months, the forest road area was finally done. This is the first of 5 areas planned for the game. Before I go, I'd like to mention my social media. I have a Twitter account where I post some of my more in-depth thoughts. I also sometimes post. I also have an Instagram account, but that's more for me than anyone. I'm almost done with a series of small improvements on the game, so the next devlog will be dedicated to that. Stay tuned. This concludes the devlog. If you made it this far, then consider subscribing. Doing so will make sure you know when another video like this one is coming out, and will majorly support the project. You can also like this video and share it with your friends. That's all from me. Have a good one.